はい、
Hello, my name's Yuji Abe, and I'm the game design director on Lightning Returns.
じゃあ言います。よろしく。
はい、
My name's Yoshinori Kitase, and I worked as the producer on Lightning Returns, and I've actually been involved with the Final Fantasy series since number 5.
です。よろしくお願いします。
Obviously, one of the things that may be obvious is because the name has changed, it's not Final Fantasy XIII-3, but we called it Lightning Returns. And what that was, the main idea behind that was that when we started out, we really want to create a game as if it was a completely new and independent title in its own way, something that would really stand up on its own. When we came to the battle system there to give players a feeling of picking up and playing with something completely new, took the good bits and the bits that people liked from the battle systems of the original two games, but what I really concentrated on was making it feel different, and when you the feeling of playing it, like the tactile qualities of playing it, were very new and different. So that's why we decided to add in and change some of the new systems there.
まあ15のチームとは
In Final Fantasy XV is actually being developed by a completely different team to the one that worked on Lightning Returns, so they're obviously thinking of doing what they want to do in their own system there, so it's not really designed to be a preparation for 15 or a direct link to that, but no, I think there's certainly at the moment the 15 team are looking at developing their own new and innovative battle system for that, so obviously you got a lot to look forward to in that, but it's not necessarily going to be the same as Lightning Returns.
ぜひ期待していただければと思います。500年経ったと
There's
言
basically
っ
a
て
period
も
of 500 years that has passed since the end of the story at Final Fantasy XIII 2. And in that time, the world has slowly been going along the same track, going towards its own the apocalypse. So the world's going to end, and it's slowly been deteriorating and going towards this final apocalypse. The story of Lightning Returns takes place in the final 13 days before the world itself is dissolved and everything ends. And the other interesting point about the world in the time between is that people have stopped aging. They've stopped feeling the effects of time. So everyone is essentially immortal in that time, but they all know that the end of the world is coming, so it represents a very interesting sort of psychological state for the people of the world, that they know they're going to perish at the end of the world, but they don't die up until then in the natural manner. And where Lightning fits into this story, she's been frozen as crystal over the 500 years, so she hasn't actually experienced any of this change in the world, and then she awakens 13 days before the end, which is the start of Lightning Returns, and she has to experience the last 13 days and try and save the people of the world.
人々を救うために立ち上がるというストーリー。続きという形で終わったんですけども。
We did 13-2. We very much wanted to continue the series and finish it off in another game, so we wanted to carry on the story from there. But for Lightning Returns, no, this is the final episode of the saga, and we decided on that. We're going to make that the ending one. So yes, this is the end of the Lightning story. But as a character, she's still very popular. So maybe she might appear not in her own series of games, but maybe as like a guest in a spin-off title sometime in the future, some way like that. But no, overall for the Final Fantasy XIII saga and the story, this is going to be the end.
しれないですけども、いわゆる13の世界っていうのはもうこれでおしまい。
For me, definitely the one that had the biggest impact on me and I remember the best is Final Fantasy III, because there's certainly, I can't obviously say too much about the story because I'll give away spoilers to it, but remember there was certainly one point in the progress of the game where you find the world just really opens up in front of you, and combined with all the story that's gone before that, it's a really surprising and really exciting and interesting event there. And also on top of that, it was the first Final Fantasy to introduce the job system, so from a gameplay perspective as well, I think that was a really great step, and I really remember that one. Certainly of the Final Fantasies that I've worked on and created myself, Final Fantasy VII was definitely the one that sticks with me the most, because it was the move between the old traditional 2D creation environment to the new 3D, with the complete method of developing the whole game, all the processes and the tools and the environment that we used had all changed. Yeah, I think that was certainly one of the most epoch-making of the ones I created. I mean, there's obviously no concrete plans of that at the moment anywhere in the team or the company, but no, certainly we always get a lot of people from all around the world who love 7 and always ask about whether we're going to be remaking it or doing stuff for it. But the thing is, because there's such an expectation there, and everyone's got their memories of it, that if we were to do it in the future, I'm not saying we are, but if we were, hypothetically, to go and do a remake or an extension of 7, we really would need to prepare very, very thoroughly for that, because I think if we released something and it wasn't quite up to standard, up to scratch, and then yeah, that would really disappoint a lot of people. So if we were to do it, then it would need a lot of thought and a lot of preparation.
今回その
Certainly for me, when we were developing the battle system for the game, obviously you've got the 3 ATB gauges which move up separately for the different systema in the game. And at the start, that system wasn't in place, and we hadn't even thought of that yet. So we had originally just one long ATB gauge which you split and between the different styles or schema you were using. And it really just didn't feel right. It felt like it was too slow, and it really put limitations on what the player could do. So it just didn't give us the tempo of battles that we wanted. And we obviously tried out a lot of different things and different ideas as to how to change that and make it into more of what we wanted for the battle system. But for a long time, a lot of whatever we tried just wasn't going well. And we tried all sorts of ideas. It just didn't quite give us what we thought would make the battle system what it should be. So I remember at that point we held a meeting between myself and the battle director, Mr. Matsuoka, the battle director, and another guy who was in charge of all the system adjustments. And we all came into the meeting bringing our ideas for how we thought we should solve this problem. And I still remember at the time we all basically brought the same idea through to have the 3 ATB gauges, and we all came in with the same idea there. So after that meeting we thought, yeah, this is obviously the best way to go, and we all decided let's progress with that. So no, I really think that it was a surprising event, but it also showed, I mean, how mature the team was, and they'd come together over the past 2 projects and all managed to get on the same track and think in the same way. So that was quite surprising.
含めてちょっと驚きもあり感動もありました。
そこまでその現場に近くてゲームを作ってるわけじゃないので、
Well, personally, I'm not as directly involved with the actual nitty-gritty of the game creation process. So I'm more looking at it a bit from a distance, from an overseeing perspective there. But no, I certainly remember in the second half of the development cycle. I mean, for the first bit, obviously, the game couldn't be played yet. All the parts were being developed separately in different places, and it hadn't been put together as one whole that you could sit and play through yet. So when it got to that point, and we made the first build just after the first mastering alpha, that you could play through the whole game. And try it out, play it, see how it really would feel. I still remember I sat down and first played it, and I really found it very difficult. It felt that the difficulty level of how hard the battles were and the toughness of a lot of the game felt a lot higher than in all the previous Final Fantasies and up until now. But I'm just playing through it, and it was surprising. I was a bit surprised, thinking, well, this is a bit strange, but at the same time, I thought, well, hang on, this actually might be a good way to go, and this might actually be a good thing and might fit for Final Fantasy. So obviously after then there was more of a longer period of about 3 months where we fine-tuned everything and played around with the balance, and it did wind up probably a bit easier and a little bit easier to get into than when I first did the test play. But no, I still remember thinking back to actually for the future Final Fantasies, maybe a more difficult, more challenging game would be a good idea. So yeah, that was a bit of an episode that remains with me.
で、まあそれをそのままロゴしたというかっていうのは思い出というかありますね。
What remains with people, what really sticks in people's minds and really makes them fond of the Final Fantasy games is the characters. So we talked about 7 a bit just now, and I think in 7 what people really remember is the main characters like Cloud, Tifa, Aeris, and of course Sephiroth. It was a game that we made 15 years ago, and people are still remembering those characters today. So I think in the case of Lightning Returns and the main character, that Lightning, the thing that probably stick out most, and that makes her maybe a bit different from the other Final Fantasies, she's not necessarily a heroine or leading lady type character. She's actually up there as a proper hero in her own right, and she's the protagonist. So that's obviously something that is different and sets it apart from the other games. But no, I think, and obviously we spent a very long time, 10 years over this series, of people who've been with her for a very long time. And in many years' time to come, she's still going to be a popular character. I'd like to hope that she'd be a very popular character and sticks with people, and they remember her for her individuality and things like that. I remember looking right back at the beginning of the project 10 years ago when we first started doing the original Final Fantasy XIII, and I remember the first thing I said to the director of the game, Mr. Motomo Toriyama. I said to him, above all, when we're making this game, what I really want you to do is make it so that when people have finished playing the game, they'll have fallen in love with the character of Lightning. They'll be really impressed with her and really have fallen for Lightning there. And so obviously I think some of the big part of that is actually such a strong and powerful character, and over the last 2 games you've seen that. But what maybe stands this out now, what would be interesting for the 3rd game, is that in that we really wanted to depict other aspects of her as well. I mean, of course she's still the strong, capable character she's always been, but in this one you'll also see maybe a little other more human aspects of her, and the things that she's lost and had to sacrifice for becoming that kind of strong and powerful character. So I think in this final game, I hope everyone enjoys seeing Lightning from another angle and seeing this new vision of Lightning, as it were. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy the game.